There is a friendship gap that no one seems to talk about, but we all feel it, or at least a lot of high achievers feel it. And so in this episode, I'm going to talk about what that friendship gap is, and maybe you can relate a little bit to it. And today we're going to talk about the friendship gap that no one talks about. And this is the third episode in a series all about friendship, really. And it was all started from my 50 before 50 challenge, which means I am wanting to have 50 close friends by the time I'm 50. So I have 3.5 years to do that, which is great. You're not going to hear about it on the podcast for 3.5 years, but I'll give you updates. And so the previous two episodes, one was about what the challenge is, why I'm doing it, what it's teaching me. It was a vulnerable podcast to do. And then the previous one was why high achieving women struggle to maintain friendships. And then the next one I'm going to do is all about how to build and maintain meaningful friendships as a busy woman. So today we're talking about the gap. And the gap is not having friends and then not having friends. It's deeper. It's about the depth of those friendships. So let me go into it a little bit more and you can let me know. Like, send me a comment, a message on your favorite social platform, or email me, Diane@DianeRolston.com, if you can relate to any of this, because I'm going to share further down, like further on in this episode, about just recent conversations I've had where people completely agreed, got it, understood, felt it. So there's something that I don't think we talk enough about, which is that we can have a really full life, but then we can still feel really disconnected, right? So you can know a lot of people and still not feel deeply known or still feel lonely. And so I've had moments where my calendar is full of events with lots of people and my business is moving forward and I have lots of clients and my family is good, and yet something feels a little bit off. And it's not that I feel bad or like life is terrible. It's just like something's missing. And when I really looked at it, it wasn't more people I needed. So this is not about getting just 50 people, because I can just name off 50 people and there we go. There are 50 friends. It's the deeper connections with the right people. And I'm not saying there are wrong people, but the right friendships for me, and that I'm the right friend for them, and that we have a deeper connection. So, what I've noticed though is like the surface level friendships or the acquaintances, right? So, I have a lot of people in my life. There are a lot of conversations, interactions, touch points. But there's not always a lot of depth. And it's not because the person or I lack the ability to have depth. It's just that we haven't got to the point where we are in a deeper friendship. So I was explaining when I was doing my Dynamic You program, one of the times, one of the participants, we were talking about like building your personal board, having people around you. And the thing that she said is like she knows a lot of people, but she doesn't want to bring everyone super close. And because she's so friendly, people very quickly kind of get deep with her. But she's like, whoa, 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 this is this is not really what I'm trying to do right now. I've just met you. But I was talking to her about kind of like the circles of friendship or the circles of closeness. And so you maybe have a handful that are super, super close to you, and then it just continuously goes out as like rings in a tree, sort of moving all the way to the outside, or rings in an onion, however you want to look at it. And so the difference being a lot of times high achieving women, they're often the leaders, the ones running things or holding space or teaching or training or being there for others, coaching, whatever, advising, consulting, or just being kind of a role model to others. And they're often successful ones in the room, and they feel like they don't have a place where they can actually just exhale to be fully themselves. to say what's really going on beneath the surface. And I realize that I've kind of fallen into that I've had proximity to a lot of people, but not always closeness. And I was chatting with someone who I consider to be a friend through my church and also in the business world. And just sharing openly about this and how it was vulnerable for me to share it. And she was like, "Yeah, I thought you had like a lot of people." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do, but I'm not feeling, I don't have that depth, and I want that depth of friendships." And she agreed that she's had trouble in certain places of her life being able to form those stronger, deeper friendships. And she's tried, like she's put herself out there, she's reached out, and she just hasn't had the same response. So there's a difference, and we can move between the different types of people. And if you notice me yawning, it's because I just came back from a week in Mexico and we got back really late, and I'm tired. But I wanted to share this today, especially because I just had this conversation with this friend. So there's a difference between these, like being around people and feeling truly connected and yourself, where you can let your wall down. So there's the surface level friendships, the acquaintances, and then the people who really know you. And a lot of times, high achieving women, as I said, they have wide circles, right? So they know so many people in so many areas of their life, but they don't always get to go deep. That's the gap. That is oftentimes a very big gap. And it's not that they lack people or great people that could be fabulous, deeper friends. It's just they're lacking the depth. So I'll give you some real life examples. You can see if you can relate to any of these. These are typical things that we say in and things that happen to us that could be causing us to have a lack of depth. And we can look at the next episode as the way of building the deeper. I just want to show the gap first today because you may be feeling it, you just haven't been able to express it. So have you ever heard someone say to you, "We should catch up soon"? Yep, that happens. Or "Hey, let's have a quick check-in. How are things going?" "Oh, good, good, good." And busy, we say these things and then we go off. It's like the place that we're having that conversation oftentimes doesn't warrant us to go into bigger depth, and a lot of times the person's not ready for the true answer, right? We're passing by in a mall or we are just sending quick messages on social media. Maybe you've thought of someone and you haven't sent them a message. Maybe there was a voice note that you meant to send but you didn't, or a replied, to a voice message that you didn't get the chance to reply. Because I was away, I had a neighbor and one friend both send me happy Easter messages. And it was so funny because I had written the things to send by the pool and I just never sent them. So when I got back, I felt bad and I apologized and sent it back. But, there's likes and comments on social media are great. And I have people that I'm like, wow, they care about me. They're liking my stuff. They're commenting on my stuff. But again, that's not deepening our friendship. That's maintaining a connection, right? And sometimes when we have those connections on social media, or we have those quick pass bys, or we have the quick chat at a networking event or something, it fills a little bit of that space, that gap of friendship, but it doesn't create that feeling of being seen, being supported, being truly known. Oftentimes, when I have attended things in the past or chatted with people in the past, actually, I'll take both of those as separate. When a lot of times I've gone to programs and I've wanted to be vulnerable, or I've needed to process things or go through things or be frustrated, maybe not getting the right result that I was looking for. But rather than me getting that support, I often ended up supporting others. I've found from a young age, that if I share my feelings, that they're often the other person shares right back. Even like my grandmother, no, my grandfather had died when I was 16. I was in drama class. There was some activity that where people were basically making fun of each other. And I got made fun of, and then I started crying, and people were like, "What? That wasn't a big deal." And I was like, "Well, my grandfather just died." And I say just, we found out that morning, and he's in England. So I don't know him that closely, but it was still upsetting, especially to see my mom upset. But anyway, my teacher comes to the bathroom to see what's going on, and she tells me how her mother had died. And then I was like, okay, now I can't really be sad right now. It seems like she is being sad. And so oftentimes in programs or in places, that's why I pay a lot of people like counselors or my naturopath, or my massage. I pay people to care for me because I haven't been able to find as many people in the friendship side or even in programs where I can truly let my guard down. My clients know that I'm very forthcoming with vulnerable things when it's appropriate. And my friends know that too, but it's not something that I feel like there's a lot of places that I can do that. And maybe you can relate. So surface level connections, they're only going to get you so far. And at some point, you start craving something more, right? Those deeper conversations, that real support, people who understand you without explaining everything and without that, the need to say more. Like you say a few things and they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I understand. And when you have that, you get to feel seen and heard and then be able to let your guard down. I say to a lot of my high achieving clients, they'll say, like, I don't have anyone else I can lean on. And then I tell them, well, bring your mess to me. Bring your mess to me so that you can be magnificent out there. And that's a lot of times what happens. So we don't want to have a full life, but then feel empty. So this is what success in life can look like without satisfaction. And so, being friends being one area of life, this is why I'm focusing on this, because I will take responsibility for the things that I've done or haven't done to be able to gain more deeper friendships, to close the gap between the surface level and the deep friendships. So, where in your life do you have people, but not the depth of relationship that you're going for? And who do you actually feel safe being your full self with? This also brings up an idea for me around, a lot of times I'm the one holding space or leading, or like I have to be the responsible one. I have to be the good girl. I have to be the one who sets the bar high. But sometimes, like in school, I can be the straight A student who gets all our work done, but then I can be the class clown a little bit. And it was funny when I went away with some friends for one of my friends' 40th birthday to Hawaii for the week. And I was able to be silly and goofy and funny. And at one point, she just kind of stared at me. She'd been laughing quite a bit for what I was saying. And she looked at me and she said, "Wow, Diane, you're really funny." I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, I haven't seen that side of you." I was like, "Wow, how sad that a friend of mine hasn't seen the funny side of me because I'm having to be responsible or hold things together or be professional or whatever it may be." So knowing that you have a safe place to be fully yourself, so important. As I close, I want you to remember that there are two episodes before this and one more coming. I think I'm just going to do a 4 episode series, but wait and see, right? Just remember, more acquaintances won't close the gap, right? Me having 50 doesn't close the gap. It's not about the width of the friendship, it's about the depth of the friendship. More proximity doesn't work either. If you just hang out with more people or you're closer in proximity to people, it doesn't, no, you actually have to put in the time and the effort and let your walls down and be that for someone else. Let them have their walls down so that you can connect in that deeper place. And when you have that, it changes everything. You know that at 2 a.m. you could call somebody to help you. You know if you needed people to do a meal train or to go have fun with, that you'd have a list of people you could reach out to. And really, depth, it only happens when we choose to create space for it. And that is what I'm doing right now. And I guess that's what I've been choosing for the past 6 months and will be for the next 3.5 years and probably the rest of my life. If you haven't yet, please write a review of the Dynamic Women podcast. We've been going for, I don't know, it was almost 7 years or 6 years, something over 6 years. And we would love to be found by more people. And one way is by having you write a recommendation. And when you do a little screenshot of it, email it over to team@dianerolston.com with your mailing address so we can send you a little something special in the mail. Make sure you hit subscribe. Share this with a friend, one of your 50 friends, or your 60 friends before your 60th, whatever it may be. And until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.